right. Well, I did this in class and I had a little issue with my recording. I didn't share my screen at the right time, so kind of messed that up. So I'm going to go through this probably a little bit quicker, which will save some time. On this next assignment that I wanted to do this week is the V block. Has an auxiliary view, so I'm going to go ahead and open this up and so that I can upload this video lecture, which it doesn't exist right now, but this is what we're going to be working on. So concept of this is it's pretty well laid out like a normal object that we would get, and it might not be clear that there's anything special going on with this that we haven't already experienced. So I'll kind of explore that as we go, where the need to really kind of dive down in the weeds with this object and why that is and why it falls into this auxiliary view um, category. So what we've got is, if I look at the assignments, we're going to do an inch template. Everything's in inches. We kind of have the option to choose whichever side's going to work for us and an appropriate scale for that size of sheet. So I'm probably going to lean towards the B size sheet. And in the one that I did in class, it was B size. And so I think that's going to work for me pretty well. B size 1:1, I think, is what I ended up doing. But there was some arguments that maybe a half size on an A size sheet would look okay. It's just the dimensioning might get a little crowded. So B size gives me plenty of room to dimension. Let's see. So we just need to determine which views are necessary: top, front, right side, and auxiliary. Maybe, and we'll explore that a little bit and talk through that before we go crazy and just start drawing. But it's going to use our auxiliary view stuff from chapter 9. Okay. Yes. And that's a hard chapter to digest. The questions from it are hard. There's images in that. I mean, you can go into the weeds with auxiliary views, and I'm going to do this. I might break some ASME standards here, but I'm just going to do it, I think, as the first auxiliary view, just to help clarify uh, some of the stuff and how I dimension it. I might break away from an ASME standard and do more of like an ISU standard or my standard maybe on this, just to help us do the first one. And then we can maybe talk about where I've broken them free from standards, or where I may have to check myself in some, if I'm working for the right in the environment that they may not like how I do this one. But it'll be a good one to start and build a foundation from. So I don't have any other imagery up for show how this would look, so I need to finish this up. So I'm gonna go over to CAD, and you're gonna see a brief image of what maybe it's gonna look like. But I might change this up a little bit. We talked about the concept of auxiliary. The reason why I've got to be kind of careful. What we have is going. This is a simplified version of what we. I mean, this is a block with 3 views. Ours kind of looks like this. It has like a sloped feature here. Of course, it has more features on this object than the one that I have up on my screen. But what's going on and why this kind of uh, changes my normal 3 view, go to town, pick front, top, right side, or maybe subtract one of those and then go and then continue to draw like this one. This one's gonna make me pause because what this is, and this is from your book, really. It shows that why we have an auxiliary need in this case is a good representation of it, because we've done our front, top, and right side view of this particular object, just a simple block with a hole through it. The hole is on that slanted surface in the front view. So what that does is, when you project all this information across to the top and right side, it really shows that the hole, um, the hole in this part, when I look at it at the top view, it doesn't appear as a hole like you would think it should. It shows it's an oval shape, and we call that an ellipse. So the whole shape has become elliptical because you're looking at a distorted view. It's on a surface that is going down and away from me here. And so when I'm perfectly uh, perpendicular to the top surface, which would be actually be the top surface here, this hole is now distorted and it looks like an ellipse. So it's not a place that I can dimension that, right? Because I need to be able to dimension this, with just a diameter call out like we did on all of our holes up to this point. And this causes some problem. This is an oval, not a round, so it doesn't appear as it really should. And then the same can be said for me projecting the information over the right side view. My hole is an ellipse, And it also doesn't allow me a good place to dimension this. It doesn't give me like the true view of this particular feature. So what I do is I do an auxiliary view, and an auxiliary view is just projected another, it's like it's creating another projection plane from a plane that I've kind of developed through my part creation. I've developed this slanted surface, which I could then turn my eyes and view on it perfectly perpendicular if I project from it. And so that's what I've done to my right side view is I've specifically chosen the right side view to start my auxiliary view because that is where that particular surface appears as a line. And so the other two views, that surface appears as a surface. And so I'm not going to project from that. I'm going to project from where those surfaces appear as a line. That's the concept of orthographic projection. That's what we're doing when we create a top and a right side view, is we're projecting surfaces where they appear as a line to then kind of expose them as a surface. And we're going to do the same thing with this weird sloped surface and where the hole actually is on the part. So if I project from it, kind of using my glass box method, and kind of almost add a new a new viewing plane to my glass box. It's not just those simple six sides that every shape has. Now this shape has some features where I can project from. So I'm going to project a new surface plane from that, and I'm going to restrict it kind of like I would with the right side view and top view. I've got to restrict it to so that it matches the surface length here. And then the width here is going to be driven by I should say the depth here is going to be driven by the depth of top and depth of right side. So that is going to be in common with this particular auxiliary view. What's in common is that I'm projected from the front view. I pick up my true length of that surface from the front view, which allows me to build this projection binding area where the shape's going to be bound. And then I then can pick up the depth dimension from the top view and the right side view depth. So I have some given information and some I develop myself. And yeah, so that's what I've got going on. The reason why this has to be from here is because if I tried to project from this surface, that's in the right side view, it's sloping, up and away from me here. So this is, from this point up, this surface is foreshortened in my view. And so this edge is actually appears shorter than it really is because it has this linear length going away from me like this. So it's foreshortened versus true length. I pick up the same kind of, it's in a different, on the top view, I pick up that surface with even a different dimension because now I'm in relation to what it looks like from the top view. And from there down, as it falls down and away from me, is foreshortened. And it's actually the same length in the front view as it would be for the right side view or top, but the true length is found in the front view, and that's where I find and kind of determine that's my projection plane edge to use. So I'm gonna so and the this V block doesn't break away from this orientation. It kind of is the same orientation. So I like it to start as the first auxiliary view, and let's do it. So I'm going to open up a template. Um, an inch template, right? And it says I can use either A or B size. I think when I did this, I determined that I just used the B size sheet. If I wanted to use the A size sheet, I would open up the template file with all the sheets and pick A or B. I mean, you can make your own custom template that just only had the A and B. I haven't uploaded one of those to the course, but you could. I mean, you can do whatever you want with your templates. If anything that speeds up your time, I'm going to go right to the B size sheet for ISU, this one here. And that's the only sheet I'm going to use, and I'll worry about where it lies there and how it looks after I do some drawing. So let me just start with the front and top view and talk through what views I might need. So, and I'll just talk through my overall dimensions right here. So I'm gonna make my my boundary areas for all my views, all three of my views. I'll kind of make the boundary area, and then I'll talk through before I take off running which views I might start with. Mostly always starting with the front view for me. But I need some boundaries of 3 by 2.25 high, so 3 inch wide by 2.25 high by 2 inches deep. So I'm going to take those at least and develop uh, the boundaries for them here. So let's do that. Got my construction layer. Let's build this out. I decided it's 3 by 2.25. I'm drawing kind of way up. Maybe I could move this down a little closer to my origin point, but it's not. I'm just going to draw it a little closer down here. It's a pretty small object, really. Um, And let's do the top boundary. So I'll drag up here a few inches. Seems like I always need a few inches to dimension. And not that I have to have it perfect, because I'm not worried about it being perfectly laid out for the dimensions to fit. I just don't know what I'm going to put on there with our access to view different viewports and copy paste and move these into an area where I can get free of any kind of crossing over, or if I've crowded it or spaced things too far apart. It doesn't have to be, it's not the end of the world for me. I'm just going to make an orthographic projection here, copy and paste it as I need it to dimension and add viewports as needed. So I start to like not worry about that and I can just start drawing. So it's definitely going to be three though, 3 by 2 inches deep here. So 3 by 2. I just want to make sure that I've got those in orthographic alignment, but they look to be lined up correct. Yeah, like that. I'll make my miter line. Make sure I'm going to draw this at 45, not what I have selected right there. 45 for my miter line. Oh, if it'll snap, there's 45. There's my top right there. That should be good. And then I'll just project the right side view. Cap that off there. And I'll finish capping these off here. This is my right side view. This is a good way to check that your views are in kind of alignment, that this thing should be 2 by 2 and a quarter. So I might just do a quick measurement here. Make sure I'm hitting my 2 by 2 and a quarter. I like it. So I don't feel like I'm getting any distortion across my miter line here or from horizontal. So that's going to be my boundaries for my three views. I'm not going to, I mean, I can see how far I set them apart on my B-size sheet, but I'm not even going to worry about that yet. I'm just going to say, I don't even know where that is here. I can kind of at least unlock this and kind of get in here. But this is at a 1-to-1 scale. Yeah, I mean, I might be a little bit wide and fitting here. I'm going to leave it just how I laid it out, and I'm going to worry about probably multiple viewports on this. So I'm just going to lock those down at 1-to-1, kind of at least I'm in my viewport. I'm jumping over to my model space. So what I want to do is just this is where I think experience, and this is something that I don't always pick up on either. Which view I can drop and which one I need, and I think you'll get better as you go. And in some ways you can tell right away how many views, where I really try to have some foresight in knowing what views to draw is when I'm in CAD, where it's a little bit harder to just snap and pop views with some 3D programs that we'll get into. It's much easier just to create the 3D part and then pick the views later, and then those kind of present themselves as you get dimensioning which views you need to include, and this 3D part you always have access to the thing. Well, that's different in 2D, right? Like I kind of need to do a better job of planning, and maybe I save myself a bunch of work by not uh, um, by not drawing unnecessary views. But I say when you're early in your drafting career, you might just end up, doing creating some views that you end up realizing later that you didn't need. I don't think that's the end of the world. I think you just get better at it as you go. And maybe one of those concepts of how do I recognize what I'll need, you can kind of talk yourself through with some of this preliminary checking here. If I'm looking at the front view and I stop for a minute and I say, okay, if I draw this front view, I've got these dimensions to work with. I'm going to go put it on my drawing. I'm going to hit this point and I don't have it on. I don't, the engineer didn't provide me this dimension. Maybe they've provided me the details I need to figure that out. So I'm not going to freak out yet. I'm just going to say, well, I've got like a 30 degree. Seems like this is 30 degrees from this point, like sloped back. This one, I don't know what it is, but it's like 90 from like kind of this surface here to there. So I've got some weird angular measurements to work from. They don't help me define linear lengths necessarily. And if I was in the front view here, like with my eyeballs on this surface, perpendicular to the surface, I'm going to see this true length. This is going to look just like it's like how long it actually is in my front view. And then it's going to turn this way and it's going to look in my front view because my eyeballs are here and this surface is perpendicular to me. This is going to be a true length. These are going to be true lengths. So if I can define them by some view, by kind of working top, front initially, can I figure out where that point is? Maybe. And so if I can define that, it's going to be a true length. in my front view. So will this long line across here. That'll be a true length. It'll be right perpendicular to my eye. The surface and that line will look just as the true length that it really is. And so will this 102, and so will this 257. What won't is this surface in my front view, I'll see it. It'll just be foreshortened for me. So this surface, I won't be able to dimension well from the front view. It'll be going away from me, which means, this line will look like it just lines up on the bottom of my front view anyway. And then this one, I'll see it, but it'll be severely foreshortened on me. And then I'll see this, and that'll be a true length that I'll be able to get. So what I'm kind of identifying here is that when I'm on my front view and looking at what I will see in my front view, there'll be some details that I can't see is that. I won't know this length here, and I technically won't know this length either. But I'll pick up quite a bit. And then I go to the top view and I kind of analyze it and I say, okay, now I view this object looking down on it. And I'll say, well, what is going to be a true length? Well, true length. My eyeballs in the top view are going to be just kind of like right on this edge. I don't really have a surface to lay my eyeballs against. I'm really just they're on an edge. They're on this very top height edge right here. And so when my eyeballs are on that edge, when I'm looking down, these surfaces are foreshortened. They're going down and away from me. And from this here down, this is all foreshortened. So this whole surface is going to be appear foreshortened in my top view. And then I'll see this will be sticking out there. I'll see it, it'll be in perfect alignment with this, and that'll be a true length. That'll measure a half inch in my top view. It's just that this won't. So again, this little part is I won't be able to tell what it is, and nor will I be able to tell what this is in the top view either. So where this is defined in the front view, this particular edge, it's not defined in the top view because I'm looking down now, and this is foreshortened. And this is foreshortened. The whole V shape, it was forced. I didn't even know, but it's hidden material in the front view. It would be something I'd have to see through and see this, but I wouldn't be able to pick up particular, I wouldn't be able to know what that is unless it was given this 0.8 dimension, which is kind of an outlier in my maybe my text size is off there or something, but um yeah, so and even in my top view, this is going to be a foreshortened distance as well. I'm going to be looking down on it, but it's sloping down and away from me towards the middle. And so I just get a lot of as I start to analyze edges and lengths, I start to see, man, some of these views are going to have a lot of like data that isn't dimensionable. It's gonna have the shape, and it's going to look like it is a top and front, and but it's not going to have the shape, or it's not going to have dimensionable sides for a lot of these things that I need to know. And so that foreshortened anyway. When I look at the front view, if I was to do sorry, if I was to do a right side view and look at this with my eyeballs on this surface here, I'm gonna be able to see this rectangle in its true length form. It's just right perpendicular to my eyes, so it's going to be 3/4 by half inch by 3/4 by half inch rectangle. And then this surface I'm going to see in my right side view, but it's going to be all foreshortened. It's going to be going, up and away from me here. Here is going to be, over to the right side and over to the left side views. Sorry. It's going to be going over to the front views and over to the back views. But it's all going to, like, everything's going to be foreshortened. All of this material in my right side view is going to be foreshortened. Not this, but these are. This I would pick up as the true length. I would see that 0.2 dimension in the right side view. This would be, I'm on this view plane, so this is going to be foreshortened. So what I'm able to kind of identify, and you have to put your mind through that work, maybe before you even start drawing, is what I've identified is I get pretty good data on the front view. I get a lot of true lengths there. I get some, but not great. I don't get a ton of good data on the top view, but I do get a good visual representation of the V slot. And I do get some stuff that would be very beneficial to like visually clarify what the part looks like from front to top. The right side view, it kind of falls into the front views category where sorry, the right side view is going to fall into the top views category where some of the data is true length and a lot of it's foreshortened. So if I'm going to omit a view, maybe my right side view is a good candidate for like not having any good data. And if I can, and once I understand the concepts of auxiliary projection, I'm like, well, that sloped V looking surface here, right here, this is a great candidate for a auxiliary view of it. And instead of doing a right side view, I think I'll just kind of in that area where it would kind of the right side view would look. I'm gonna elect to do a auxiliary view. So that's kind of how we're going to proceed with this. But I think making that determination early in your CAD days is hard to do. And I think it's okay to probably have maybe overdrawn and have the data that you might realize that you don't need rather than have to go back and recreate data and maybe not have room for it if you didn't plan for it. I've kind of planned for it. So I'm going to go through and start putting I'm going to pull this up on my other screen so I have this information and I'll just kind of start walking through what I'm using for sure, starting with the information I've got. I got a lot of dimensions there to work with. Let's see if I can put them to work. And I've really got areas to do all three if I need it, but I'm just going to start with my front view. So let's go over to my visible layer. And let's go up here. I know I got this dimension as 1.02, right? Yep. And then I hit a place where I don't know. It comes over back to the top, but I don't know what this degree measurement is. So I'm just going to say I don't know. Let me just come back to it. I'm going to come back this way. For sure, I have this 2.57 across this bottom. And then it actually continues on like this slopes away from me at this point back to the right side view. So I'm going to continue this line, but it's in two segments because I've got a segment that's 2.57 and then the segment that's severely foreshortened over to the right side view. And then from the right side view, I pick up a dimension that's true length and it's 0.75 up, right? And then I pick up a dimension that's an angular dimension, but it's on my print. It says it's 30 degrees from this point. It's going to slope over 30 degrees. So I'm going to make sure I got that checked and make sure it's on for one. Then check 30 degrees. Yes, 30 degrees sounds good. This is 90 and then the first one's going to be 30 right there. So 120 is what it comes up here. Maybe I could tab over and put in 120, tab back. So I want to be locked in at 120 and then where that intersection point is. Yep, make sure I have that object snap on. I always point these out sometimes. Intersection's what I just used there, right there, intersection. Okay. Now I feel like I have what should connect back to where I left off over there, right? According to my print, this comes back to here as that little surface there. And this should kind of have created a 90 degree. According to my print, I should be 90 degrees from here to there. So, I can check that with a measurement, an angle measurement. It really pulls from like, I'm trying to look at I think it's a little misleading, but it's from here kind of, it's a little misleading. Yeah, it's like 90, it wants to know that's 90 degrees, shows up as 90. Uh, you might find that when you're pulling dimensions off of here, maybe it's rounding, it's just whole degrees and not giving any decimal degrees. You can check decimal degrees maybe with a quick dimension. You'd maybe have to be on the annotate tab and actually pull a angular degree here. But you could snap a degree here just for your own. See that is 904. So and we had some of this going on in class, that people are like, well, yours is 90, mine's 904. Yeah, this one technically just by the point-to-point alignment of this ends up being like a 904 here. 9004, which maybe is correct because my drawing is only it's not even to any decimal places. So technically I have some tolerance actually applied there to the whole number. But angular, I'm plus or minus half a degree. I'm definitely within that tolerance, but this is where things can kind of be hard to project from. And I'm technically not incorrect. It's just I just want to point that out to you that if I was holding to just whole numbers and no decimals, that would round to 90, like the measurement angle picks up. These are 90 degrees, but it's just because the difference in the precision. So this gets I won't wig out too much about that. I'm just gonna continue on. I've got these dimensions, right? I mean, like I could do a little bit of a double check and make sure I didn't do anything weird, right? Like this dimension here is 1.02 and this measurement, well, I could do a quick measurement and just see what I've got. 2.57, yep. 1.02, yep. 90 degrees, yep. I mean, this kind of checks out like I'm using the right data. So I'm going to continue on. I shouldn't be worried yet. And then I'm trying to decide what else I would see there. Well, from that 2.57 point, which is right here, it just kind of it would go up in my front view and intersect wherever that is, crossing that plane, that surface that's sloped there from the right side view. This surface. And what I've done is I've got so if I make sense out of what I've got, this is the surface right against my eyes, and everything that I see there is actually true lengths. So I've got a lot of true lengths that I can dimension here. From this point down to there, it's foreshortened, right? It's going kind of down and away from me. And and so even though this is one line segment, I do pick up the true length of the entire surface. If I was, because that's my view plane. I'm looking across that surface, and so I do have its kind of boundary where it lives. It lives from, 3/4 up from there, and then it was 30 degrees over, and it hit the top that was 2 1/4 high. So that kind of is the boundary of the surface. But I have two different things going on here across this line separation here. I've got true length, and then I've got foreshortened length here. So that's weird, even though I've drawn it as one continuous line, and it is in this edge, the surface is that's going to be my projection plane for my auxiliary view. I'll come back to it, but I think that's kind of all the visible line work I can put in. What I will come back and need definitely is the hidden line work for the V. So, what I am going to see is that if I'm looking through here, I'm going to see the bottom of the V as a hidden line. So and this dimension is taken along that surface. So this is like 0.8 from the top uh, edge that is really my top view plane. Um, if I were to look down, if I just put my eyes perpendicular to this, kind of like I will in my auxiliary view, if I put my eyes here, I will see that this is from the top down 0.8. So I can mark that that is a dimension I can actually add to my front view. Maybe I'll add it maybe a construction line. It's gonna be over the top of my visible line, but I'll prioritize that later. And I'll say that really, and really I'll turn off my construction layer, so it probably won't something I have to prioritize. But what I'm saying is from here down is 0.8 is this measurement. The bottom of the V is right there. And then it would almost be like parallel with this, right? Like that V follows the tops or this surface right here. It follows it parallel down through here. So I could offset that line to that. I'm going to worry about the hidden line work of that later. So I'll come back to that. I always kind of work with my hidden lines, center lines, hidden lines kind of later. And so I think I'm going to keep projecting up here. So let's project back up. Let's take the data that I have. So I have some points to project. I've got them overalls already. I'm going to project this point across my top view. Yeah. And I'm going to project this one across that little 0.8. I mean, these are real close together up here, so I do want to keep them separated, and I always have where they came from. So that's good. And then this little top view or this little point, that is the edge that my eyeballs are on in my top view, clearly right there. So essentially, that's where that 0.2 dimension lives across right here, and then it's going to be kind of look like a rectangle right here that's really a foreshortened surface. Yeah, so I'm going to start penciling in the visible line work. I feel like I am kind of manually drawing, right? So grab my white pencil color, and this one comes up along the front to the to this point right here. Yes. So that is the furthest out line. Yep, the other one is the V. So I'm just going to remember that this is the 2.57 right there. And then I think this dimension I may have, but I don't know for sure. So let me just back up and look. I know from my other side, my my left side surface here is going to look like just a line. I'm looking straight down on this. So where that point and this surface right there lines up. And then I'm going to have this other one like that. It's funny how that almost shows left. Like when I see the dimension kick up, it seems like it's 2.57. I'm just going to check it here. It's an odd dimension, 2.56, 2.56. So it's funny that even just projecting that, I've slightly got some human error in here. Like I think I'm straight up and down. I'm just going to double check that this is what caught my eye is when I was snapping that line, it wasn't 2.57. So I just kind of wondered, did I put this projection in slightly skewed? Maybe I'll come back here and draw it. This is what I got to do. I got to check myself. Watch the dimensions that are snapping. Maybe I need to make sure that this one was truly orthographic as well. So first thing I might put in is this visible object line that's right at this endpoint. And maybe I can just toggle on F8, but it'll get a little annoying because it'll want to snap to something that I might not want it to snap to. So I'm going to toggle back off F10. I think I'm going to snuggle on my polar tracking. I'm just going to be a little more accurate here and just make sure I didn't make some kind of error here that where this intersects. So there maybe is a really, see, I could have just grabbed a different grip that I didn't know. If I'm backed out here, I thought I had it. So let me just really zoom in here, make sure this is straight up and down. Make sure I'm looking for an intersection point. I'm not looking for any other grip on here. I'm just looking for this intersection. So I can zoom way in. I'm looking for my straight up and down 0, or I could type that in, but that's where I want to be. And this is the intersection. Okay, cool. Now from there, I'm gonna see if I am a little more accurate when I project up here. Let's see. So now I'm looking for the same kind of thing where I want to make sure that I'm straight up and down. Yeah, straight up and down like that, and then where it's going to intersect here. So I know I have an endpoint there. I might have some midpoints. I just need to be careful. This is perpendicular. I like that. I'm okay with perpendicular or perfect. You can see here, if you could see, there is a separation of those lines. And if I extend this, hopefully it'll extend okay to that point. Yes, extend it. I'm going to come down here. I'm going to measure it then after that. I do feel like this was where my inaccuracy was. And it's just me watching the cursor and the dimensions that it was pulling. Now I just need to like do a quick check here that this should be 257. It's 257 now. So I do think you got to watch yourself. It's easy to make a mistake like that. I mean, that was the difference of 3 thousandths off is all that was. But it is so easy. Like I know we're computer drawing, but we have manual error here that can happen really easy. So okay. I like this though. Where I'm stopping there is I'm starting to look at like, okay, I'm looking down. I've kind of drawn in that to that point. From that point is this point is where I've drawn all the way over to that 257. From that point to the right side view, it miters over there. In the top view, I should see this 30-degree miter essentially. Kind of makes me think, I think I was pointing out in class that this is a 30, 60, 90 degrees. So technically I should be able to go over here and do 60 degrees over. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to kind of go with, I'm going to use the data I have here and I'm going to say, oh, I'm going to go over to this far right side edge on the top view and put in it 50, at 0.5 inches long, half an inch long. And then I'm going to turn that back 30 degrees to the back and front view. So let me do that. So what I'm going to do is where the right side view is the edge right here. I might put in yeah, I think I'm going to put in a center line down this thing. This part's a good candidate for kind of keep tracking a center line because it's a part that is symmetrical from kind of the from center to the front as it is from center to the back. So if I do, and it's not from if I put a center mark this way, it's not symmetrical from right side to left side. I mean, these things are obvious, but these are things I need to think of that, if I slice this thing down the middle, looking at the right side view, slice from here down the middle, essentially it's mirror images of each other. So if I drew whatever I did in one half of the top view, I can mirror it over. I'll probably just draw, a kind of a separate entities, but technically I could draw everything over here and then mirror it across. But I think I'm going to piece it together like this. I'm going to go back to my visible line. Just, to be really sure, maybe I'm going to cursor over here by 0.25, and then I'm going to draw a half-inch line. So it looks like that. That's a half-inch line. That's what I would see that's on the right side surface. And then from there to there, I really don't even need the degrees because I just have that from here to here should be, and I'm going to zoom way in here, make sure I'm catching the right point. Enter, yes. That should be 30 degrees, right? And I'll just do a quick measurement, but we can see that these can be inaccurate, so I have to be careful. It's a good check. 150 is 30 if you're looking at the other side. 180 plus 150, supplementary angles. That's right? Not complementary, supplementary. Yeah, so And then this one here to here. Yeah. So that's kind of, I'm starting to piece in what it looks like. This is all sloped surface coming up to me until it hits the point right here. So this surface just continues to slope till it hits here. And it stays on the front view plane until it hits there, and then it kind of breaks away from the front view plane. I got it. So I think this is correct. What I need to put in is maybe the 20 from here, it's 0.2, right? And then this goes down this way, clear down. I could mirror that across. Maybe that's a good I mean, I can mirror a little bit, right? Could mirror this and this across this line. I don't have a lot of data here, but I have that. Looks like it mirrors good. And then what I have is now I have like maybe I'll be able to at least draw in the foreshortened line that goes down to the V because I have the depth of the V in the front view right there, and I projected it up. And so that where that intersects the center line that I put in, where that intersects the center line is kind of like this point down to that will be that foreshortened line, kind of part of this surface here. So I'm going to put that in now. Kind of got the point to point line up here. Point to point here, not the other one. That's a different feature. And then back up to point here, right? Correct. I think so. And this is all this like, severely foreshortened surface in our view here, going up to the very top plane where my eyeballs are and then sloping down and away from me until it hits the left side. Yeah, I think this is kind of I think this is the definitely we'll turn this off for a minute. This is definitely oh, I was gonna say it's definitely done with visible lines. It's not. I need to see the change from one surface of the V to the other surface. So I should have a center line that's visible down through there. So I'll just go back and turn on I could really trace it with what I have, but I'll just show you that it should be right here and down to here, right? Yes. That looks like more of the correct visible lines. No hidden lines in here. Um, I could put that in. Sure, I could. Yeah, I mean, I could have put it in before, but it's kind of at that point where I don't really have any center lines to attend to here. I've just got visible, but a hidden line. I don't have any hidden lines in the top view. I think the top view is standalone like it is. So I'm going to do the hidden lines on the front view, and I'll just pull up my construction. So the hidden line is going to be the bottom of the V, and then it's going to be kind of parallel to the top. This surface right here, it's going to be parallel to that till it exits out this way, somewhere in this area. So I'm going to do an offset maybe of this particular line. I'm going to offset that line. So not, I think I've been using this today quite a bit as an offset. I don't have a distance, but I can just pick 2 points as a distance too. And maybe we don't do this. Maybe I haven't done this until this drawing, but a lot of times I input a distance that I know a known offset, but I can pick 2 points as an offset. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick this point. It says specify offset distance, and it's not really clear that I can pick 2 points, but I can. I can say I want to offset this line is what I'm offsetting. So I'm going to offset it from here to here, and then it says what do you? It's like it's loaded that distance, and it's like what do you? I'm offsetting this. And what's kind of confusing is that maybe it doesn't act like it like lined up point to point, and you would think that that should have maybe where this is all just one line. How did that not pull this point and actually touch that line? And this is kind of a mystery to me sometimes that it didn't when I offset that distance, it didn't like keep those points lined up. So I have to be careful with that. Maybe I'm going to extend this here, see if it will. Let me extend that, make sure it lines up with those points. And then I'm going to extend this down here, maybe where it extends through. That's kind of where it would exit. This should be hidden line work. So I might just switch the line type here to hidden. And then what I'm going to, hey,
Then I copied you.
oh, you did? Okay. Sounds good.
You'll at least have it.
Did
I advertised it, then I put the ones to remove in green, low,
Okay.
highlighted in yellow, things that need change.
Okay, sounds good. We should have a better list then. Every year or every TAC meeting gets a little better.
Sure.
Do you still have people over there? Or are they all gone yet? Okay. Are you taking off too?
I'm gonna hit the restroom and go.
Okay, okay. See you, Alicia. Okay. Oh yeah, good. Okay. Think we're back? Yes. Maybe I never paused. I don't know. We'll see. It'll either be in there or not. Oh, I just wanted to check this that this is parallel to that. Um, or if the measurements are correct. Like I'm looking for, like maybe I'll just do a quick measurement. Does this stay 0.8 through? Yes, it does. What kind of yeah, when those things don't line up, I always just go like, why did that point not hit my line when I offset that line? Because that's what I want. But what I really need is that that has to be parallel with this. Like that is the nature of that the depth of that V slot. So, maybe I'll even pull a dimension here, some in the middle and perpendicular over here, 0.8. It's like point. I just want to see if any other, maybe I'll repeat that dimension and I'll say from here down perpendicular, 0.8. So this is good. Yep, this is good. It measures 0.8 across the very front from this particular line end to this one. I know there's a bunch of endings. It's hard to know if I got the right one, but yeah, that's correct. That's that. So what I'm going to say is based off well, just based off this assignment is I'm going to forego doing any detail work here. I could project all this down. I would just get a lot more foreshortened surfaces. I would get one little rectangle that is like truly dimensionable here, but I don't feel like it's going to be those would be the only dimensions I would really carry over here would be that little front rectangle where the right side surface is looking, perpendicular to. But I can dimension that here. I can pull this height dimension of that right there, and I can pull the width or the depth dimension of it right here. So to me, that's the only value added in the right side view. I mean, you could argue that there is value added more here. So if I really analyze this, there's only two dimensions I'm going to grab that are, I would get the 0.2 across the top as well. So there's three dimensions that would appear in their true lengths here. But I'm going to get one, two, three of them over here. So I really can capture them on one of them down here and two of those dimensions up here, plus the depth I can catch here as well. So that's one of my, that's one of my indicators. It's not going to be something I'm going to use for dimensioning. Maybe I would use it to clarify view. That could be argued that it just helps someone visualize this part better. That's good. But the way I'm going to pull this auxiliary view is going to be maybe more clear. So let's pull that. And what I do is I've already done some construction material, so I'm going to make a new construction layer for kind of my projection for my auxiliary view. It's kind of a new projection I'm developed off of what the work I've just done. So I'm just going to make a copy here. Maybe I'll slow click in this box. I just slow click like that, slow double click, and then I'm going to copy that out. And then I'm going to, whatever one you're highlighted, I'm going to make a copy of it like that. It's going to come that it's non-printable. I'm going to call it construction layer as well, but maybe I'll just call it construction layer 2. I can keep the same color, same everything else. I just needed a redundant layer because I think I'm done using this one. And then I'm going to start using this one. So what we want to do is just kind of like now I'm going to keep X and Y in this situation. I think on the next one we might reorient our UCS, but and see if that helps us make it easier. Here I'll just try to struggle and see how hard this is, but it is kind of hard because now I'm kind of trying to stay in orthographic alignment to this surface. But CAD might want me to snap to things, it's going to want me to snap to certain degrees. And so I just got to be careful here. I don't want to not turn off all my snaps or whatever, but I'm just going to be a little careful. And what I want to do, of course, what I just did is offset that, and it made me a little nervous that the point to points didn't line up when I did that, because I want to use the same concept here to develop a, this is my surface that is going to contain, if I can look down on it and put my eyes perpendicular to that surface, I will start to pick up true lengths. I think I'm saying that if I can put my eyes on this surface, now this is a true length, this is a true length, this is a true length, which I already have. And I already have that one too, but that's all right. I get those true lengths. I get this is a true length because my eyeballs are right on this surface, and this thing isn't going to be like, it's going to be right with me. And this is going to be a true length, which I already have. And then, but I'm going to get that side as well. So I end up being able to define the missing true length, which is the V's, and this side. And maybe that's it. Yeah, yeah. The V's and this side. Really, I've already got the rest, but there's only one way to get those, and that's to do this a projection plane off of here. And so that's what I'm gonna do. Let's do it. Really, what I'd like to do is just be able to offset that. And I'll just do this and watch myself and see if I have issues like I did on that last one. Because ideally I should offset this. This one I'm just gonna totally take a guess. I don't know. I mean, the book goes through a lot of thought of how far this has to be off of that view, and especially if I'm going to project from top to that, yes, there is some, if I'm really going to do, yeah, there are some arguments of why I would need to have the spacing exactly correct because I'm going to use maybe some top view stuff and project over to it and kind of use it as a new like I'm going to project stuff from the right side or the front view, and I'm going to project stuff from the top view to this plane. And maybe that would be the safest way. I'm kind of going to do a hack method here, and maybe that's what's going to bite me. But I'm just going to try to build the plane and then use the dimensions that I have to kind of build the what the view looks like. And so, but this is arguable about why. Well, somebody else would actually perfectly align their auxiliary view so that I can transfer data here to it and transfer data here and come up correct. And if I was to do that, well, I'll show you my hack method first, but then I might think about that. And yeah, different ways. I think there's quite a few different ways I could develop this, I think. So maybe I'm going to do it a little bit of a I'm definitely going to do it a little bit of a hack method. I think a hack is a good term for what I'm going to do right now. So what I'm looking to do is just to build this plane out here, right? Like I'm just pulling out like if it was 30 degrees perfectly, yes, it would be this plane out here. I'm going to build this like little boundary area where it lives. I'm just going to be careful that I don't know if I can snap to that. I've got kind of a weird dimension, 0.10, 0.57. It seems like it's made something that's not, it's 90.04. So it's slightly like I don't know if I can use my object snaps like or my polar snap tracking just and do that. Like technically it should because it tells me it's 30 degrees over, and so I should be able to just come back the difference of that and project off it. But maybe I need to be careful here, right? And do so what I was gonna do was just say, well, I'm gonna draw this view out here somewhere, and it's gonna be the surface that this where this appears as a line. So sometimes I think of offsetting this. Maybe I'll just say 3 inches. I think that's what I used before. I'm gonna offset this particular geometry 3 inches like this. Technically, this like when I do this, the way I see this, that should maintain. If those are offset, they should be totally parallel, right? These should be like railroad tracks running down forever and never crossing. And like the only way they could cross is if they weren't in perfect alignment. And the idea of an offset is that they are going to stay parallel. And so that means I shouldn't even be able to really pull them like even me like doing this doesn't allow me to pull it like down or up. I am only able just to snap it like that. It should be the same length as this line. It's actually copying that exact line over. So if I hook up my projection from that to that, that should be where um it should be in perfect kind of alignment with this line here. And then what I did is I thought of this as more of my center line, like right here. And I thought, well, this is 2 inches deep here. So I thought I would offset this particular line another inch on each side, and that would be kind of the boundary area for this particular auxiliary view plane. So this is definitely kind of a hack method, and we'll just check it, see we'll check it for accuracy. But like this is 1 inch that I needed to offset because that's I'm thinking of this as being the center line now, and I'm saying this thing like offset it an inch that way and offset it an inch this way. And this way I should have like four parallel lines, this surface, this one, all totally parallel. Like the nature of offset should establish that. I think there's some error in this though, a little bit. I don't know. Like how I determine that is maybe if I draw a rectangle, and these could be construction layers, by the way. So I can, even though I'm going to push them to my construction layer 2. So this is my auxiliary view boundary. But really, if I would connect these, I'm gonna do a little experimentation here. If I connect that, and then if I come down here and I connect that should be that should be the square. That should be kind of like a 2 inch by whatever this measures. I've never measured that. Let me just measure it. I'll do like this distance measurement. I think it's out to 4 decimal places. Yeah, this says it's 1.7321, 1.7321. Maybe I'll just write that down on a piece of paper or something, or I can do it right here. 1.7321 is really what I'm not going to calculate anything. I'm just kind of wanting to keep track of it. You can also use your calculator here. It'll pick these 2 points. I don't use this much, but I could use it. It's kind of a handy tool. There's pick 2 points here, and it will measure. It'll input that into a calculator as well. There to there, it shows up as 7 point, and that actually shows you even out to more decimal places what the real decimal is. Let me just check these distances here. This distance here, that should be what that measures. 7.321. At least to 4 decimal places, it's the same. It's rounding up. It looks like. Out here on this edge. Yeah, 321. The center one should be that. 321. This should be in perfect orthographic alignment. I think the other measurement distance should be 2, 2. These should be 90 degrees corners now. If I pick up an angular measurement, these shouldn't have any error. They out to 2 decimal places, they're fully 90. What about the other direction or across kitty corner from this one, 90 degrees? Okay. This to me looks pretty good. And I kind of wonder, does it look like I don't need that really right now, but yeah, this looks like this. So this is kind of the boundary for it. I generally will come back here and kind of show the projection from here to there. Just like I would my other boundary projections. I should be able to show my projection. I was trying not to let that snap to a specific degree here and just snap to that endpoint there. Kind of interested to know if this is pulling up as 90. It is. I guess I'm just careful if I'm going to do this hack method, I am careful that I'm not going to project these pieces down. But that would be the argument of building a projection plane where you could project these down to it. Maybe I'll do that one too in the future. Really decide that the spacing here has to be so much so that this can project to it and this can project. And then we get a little bit of a better check and balance to my two views and my auxiliary view. Yeah, because sometimes I just run this way and then it can run into problems. And I did have some of us today while we were doing this, they ran into some problems here. I'm still doing okay. It's funny that I haven't had the problems appear to me that others have, but it's I mean I could still, even if I distorted this up here, I could anyway. Makes me think. I think. But then I would piece this together almost like it was its new view, and I'm thinking about what the dimensions I have to work with are and what that view would look like. So I come back here and I think of myself just looking at this line. I think, well, I would have this 1/2 inch dimension, and then over here I would have these dimensions, which I don't know here, but I know the length of those. They're in the front view. I could grab them. The true length is already there, so I kind of have them. This I know I don't have, but I have this and I'll have this and I have this. So I think these things are going to fall together kind of. So let me show you. I'm gonna have this up on my other screen and kind of piece it together. So I can kind of piece it together just by grabbing the lengths that I measure here. And that's why I'm not as worried about the using projection, but I'm breaking my own rules a little bit. So it can cause problems. Let's do some visible line work. So I'm saying right here, that little surface, it's like, I'm gonna make sure I grab, that's on the midpoint. Good, good, good. I just want to make sure I'm grabbing it accurately. I'm gonna cursor over that 0.25. It had me grabbing a different view. Let me try that again. Just kind of cursor up 0.25, and then I'm gonna go back by 0.5. I turned off my polar tracking. I'm going to turn that back on because that can be very hard to get right. So I'm definitely going to draw with this on here. Let me try that again. It'll help me snap track and trace over this line that I'm doing. So from this way, 0.25, back this way, stay in line. There we go. It should look like it stays on my projection plane better. Yes. So that's the 1/2 inch across. Um, I think I want to know, maybe I'll just draw this line down. We know that this is the depth of that, we know the depth is 0.8, where that V, I put that in as a visible line real quick, but I'll change it in a minute. The other thing I know about this surface is that from supposedly from this point over is 0.2, and then it goes down to here, right? And then from this point over, it's 0.2, and it goes down to here. Hope those are the same length. I'll check those. And then from here down, it goes somewhere, and then it comes back to here. So this is the dimension I have. I don't have it in the top view, but I do have it here. What I want to know is how long this is, where it changes kind of from the front view plane. This dimension, 8721, 0.8721 is what I want to type in right here. So 0.8721, and then it comes back to here. And then I could mirror that across, but I think I'm just gonna draw it in, which also 721, and then back to here. And then since I'm doing this kind of a hack method, I'm not projecting from the top over to it. Um, I just need to do some checks, which maybe makes the argument for if I wouldn't have to check it if I just did the projections and set them up correctly. I don't know. That's 1.1411. 1.1411. I feel like those are the same. These ones should be the same. I want to check these ones from here to here. 1.1314, 1.1314. What if I check here? 1.1314. I feel like I have a pretty symmetrical part. If you don't, it's just because things are distorting over here. And it's because probably the way I've pulled my projection is not accurate. And it's hard to chase that out, right? Like in that case, it's better if I probably would have done the correct projection from top to front. And maybe we'll do that. And maybe it's good to do this kind of, maybe I should have done it right the first time and then done the hack method later. But here's my hack method. This is going to be, I'm going to match these properties. This I just used momentarily as a point. So I've got a double line here. That's okay. I'll leave it. It's construction work. And then what we have is, yeah, I'm looking down on that. So that, yep, I wouldn't see anything. I wouldn't see anything hidden here. Ah, yeah, I would. There was one thing that we noticed. I would see the back corner edge here, this kind of like left side bottom edge. The left side surface bottom edge is going to appear as a line across here. And so I can project that up and across potentially. I just got to be careful. I'm gonna stay on construction layer 2 and project. It's this point here. This would project over and across. Like I can be maybe I don't know where it hits. That's me staying on the 30 degrees, which is technically what it should be. I just want to be careful. And I would snap it over to I'll snap it clear through the part. That's going to be a hidden line across here. And I'll come back to that in a minute. It's not going to be, I'm not going to dimension to that anyway. It's a visual thing. So if it's a little bit off, it's not going to be the end of the world because it's not a dimensionable line anyway. I just want to pick up its presentation. Maybe if things get too cluttered with hidden lines, I can drop them out of my auxiliary views like I would a section view. If it just doesn't add clarity and it adds confusion, drop it. I'm really looking for the surface probably or some feature I'm looking to define with my auxiliary view and then make it be the primary focus rather than a bunch of like redundant, redundant hidden lines. I don't have that many here, so I'll probably put it in. But what I have now is a partial auxiliary view. Partial auxiliary. And sometimes that's all I need is just to expose the surface that is kind of foreshortened and the problems that I won't be able to dimension stuff. So I could elect to stop here in some situations. I'd be like, that's all I need to show. I'm just going to show a partial auxiliary view. I'm going to proceed and do a full auxiliary view here. And it's going to pick up some foreshortened stuff that isn't helpful, but maybe it helps. Like it'll just complete the view. So I'm doing a full auxiliary view, which just means I'm going to need to show this stuff here. You know, I'm only displaying the surface that's in question right here, displaying it in its true form with its true lengths. But what I would also pick up is foreshortened stuff in this view that I'm going to be able to dimension in those other two views, front and top. So to draw that, it's just going to be like this surface I'm going to see. And so let's do that. Let's see. How do I want to proceed to do that? Well, I don't know. I feel like I could offset, I should be able to offset this particular line by 0.75, this particular line, right? I should be able to offset that. I should be able to trace that over with pretty much visible line work where those corners connect. And I mean, this thing should be this thing should also be 90 degrees. I'm checking my measurement that has like two decimal places. That's 90 still. What is over on this corner? Grab my angular dimension. 90 out to two decimal places. So that seems like my projection is working pretty well. This is the oh, I shouldn't do that. That's sorry. That I've kind of messed that up. That shouldn't be a full three quarter. Like those lines coming down are good. That one is not correct because it's going to be foreshortened in my. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to project this up. I'll show you where I made mistake. This one needs to come up and across. And that shows I'm just drawing it way up and across. This shows where those would be foreshortened to. I'll trim them like that. I'm gonna pull one more line across here. This one I'm gonna draw across. I know I'm using 30s because I'm in foreshortened area, so I'm just gonna be careful here. I think it tends to work for me, but let's see. This would come down. I jump in here, pretty accurate here. This would come down from here. That's the hidden line, nothing to do with what I'm doing here. This would come down to here, right? And then it's gonna jump over to here. So this one's really gonna come down and across where it intersects and then back this way. That's what it's gonna look like, right? I think so. It's going to come down and across and then back this way. This is all foreshortened stuff. I'm not going to use it for dimensioning. It's the visual look of the full auxiliary view there. Yeah. And if I turn that off, I end up having three views, right? That are mostly complete. I guess I could throw in my hidden line, which would kind of go from here all the way across, there like that. Yeah. So this, this is kind of like me doing what some of you were probably doing early on, and that you're not doing the full projection, but you're kind of just using, and then this is me just kind of simplifying it, but I think sometimes it does cause some error. I'm thinking it's simplifying it, but it's causing additional error, and that's where it's the wrong way to proceed on this. Like mine worked out, but I have seen a lot that didn't. So I'll think about the next auxiliary review, and I'll think about a couple different ways I can do it. Truly do it with the right spacing and projection lines, or rotate the UCS and do it, or just be careful like I did here. So um, I haven't decided, but I'm going to continue this way. I think this one is done. Turn off this construction layer. Oh, I've got one more line to draw across that I didn't trace here, so I'll turn that back on. This one I didn't see that I didn't trace. Okay. Okay. I think so. It's kind of what that would look like. I'm ready to dimension this thing. And I'm ready to figure out how it fits on my paper, I think. Let's do that. Let's do B-size paper. I'm at a 1-to-1 scale, I think. Yeah, I think I like at least the size of the 1-to-1 on here. I don't think I think I'm not going to be able to I mean, it's questionable whether I could fit or not. And if I still don't know, I don't have to worry about it yet. I think when I did this, I get a little bit sick of these viewports that come on my template. Maybe in the future I might change them because sorry, cancel that. But if I'm getting out here to my viewport, they are kind of wonky to size up because they have that middle grip, and it's kind of handy for weird shapes. But it's kind of ticking me off, so I'm going to delete it and add a new viewport. So it's a good reminder of where that is. It's on your layout tab when you're on a paper space. Layout. Here's just a nice rectangular viewport on my layout viewport palette here. Let's grab this. I'm gonna need a front view. Let's do this on the right layer though. I'm on visible object layer, so let's go ahead and just start off correct here and put this view on its viewport layer. Yeah, I'm gonna repeat that and do another one. Yeah, I don't know the size perfectly, but it's gonna be up here somewhere. And then I'm gonna have an auxiliary one somewhere over here. So sorry, I need to repeat that. There we go. Okay, and then I'll have to what I'm going to do is just go in and size them just a little bit here. So I'm going to jump in here. I want this to be a 1-to-1 at least, and then I'm going to look for the front view here. There it is. There's my 1-to-1 front view. Uh, so I'll lock it in right there, and then I'm going to jump into this viewport and hit that thing up to 1-to-1, and then it's going to be my top viewport. Great. I'll have to worry about orthographically aligning them out here on paper. That's fine. And then I'm going to lock that down just in 1-to-1, and then jump into this one. This is going to be potentially my auxiliary viewport. So I can set that. I mean, maybe I don't have enough room with the dimensions maybe I've got to make a copy of I don't know yet. Let's just do this. Just lock it in there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here to one more layer. I'm going to make one more construction layer. I tend to like any kind of construction work I do on the paper space. I feel like I put it on its own construction layer. So I think I'll make myself a third construction layer. Going forward, I think I'll start to get more and more construction layers just to help myself keep track of things. Let's see here. Construction. I'll turn that thing on, please. And then I'm going to do just kind of like my orthographic alignment X and Y, I feel like is what I'm going to do right now. So I'm on construction where I don't know why it won't let me select a line command. Maybe I got to get out of the viewport. That'll help. This seems more correct. Excellent. Now I'm on the paper. So I'm not in any viewport. I'm out of here on paper. Like I can do any kind of drawings I want on paper. This is sometimes how I break up, like if I'm doing multiple objects on one, I might break up a boundary with some different line types to kind of separate, kind of like my title block has lines. I can draw lines of separation on my print for other parts, just on the paper like I'm doing now with stuff that will actually plot and print. But right now I'm just using construction that won't plot or print. I'm really just kind of building like an X and Y. And I sometimes I just draw these really big, like that's an orthographic alignment up and down. I'm going to repeat that line. And maybe I'm going to be down this low with I can move these later, but this is something to align my views to. So I'm going to do some movement here, at least initially, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time doing this. I'll just show you why I drew that on there. Is that I'm going to. I'm out here on paper space still. Pick the viewport to move. When I move the viewport, I've selected it. So that the only thing I've selected is the viewport. But when you do that, you have all the grips that are maybe associated with anything in the viewport. So I'm going to put this as this point here. It's kind of my base of my front view. I'm going to move, and I can't say it's going to stay there for sure. Maybe I need to move it up more from there. Maybe I'm too low once I get dimensions into my notes. So that's why I say I'm not spending a ton of time here. I'm just going to do like a quick orthographic alignment at least. I'm going to drag this one over. Now those two views are in alignment. And then this one, I would really need to add another projection right here, right? To its kind of the angle. Just make sure I'm not doing this in the viewport, that I'm doing it on the paper space. And maybe I'm going to say, well, wherever that is on there, I'm going to need this to be like 30 degrees, maybe. Is kind of what it should project to. And then that would make me move this thing, this viewport itself. This is the part of that. And maybe I'll just pull it up to here. And then I might decide that I'm going to slide that even closer to it. So I'm not set on these positions, but this is a good start of what my orthographic projection might look like using multiple viewports here. And I'll clean that up as I get dimensioning. I'm ready to dimension. I can dimension in each one. These are all the same scale. I want to be careful with this if I was changing scales. In fact, I wouldn't want to do this if I was changing scales. I want all the three of these views to be the same, unless it was that auxiliary one. And I thought, well, I'm going to move it and do like a removed auxiliary view, and then I'm going to have add a view label to it because it's going to be out of orthographic alignment. And so I'm going to add a view label, and I'm going to add when you do that, then you've got to add like a viewing plane for that auxiliary view. And so I would come back to the front view and have to add using my cutting plane line, even though I'm not going to cut through anything. I'm going to like pretty much offset a line from this surface, and it's going to be a projection plane line with arrows that point back towards the object. Like they might turn, so I might space off that 3/4 of an inch or some distance away. I don't think there's a set distance on where I have to put my viewing plane line, but it would kind of function as a cutting plane line, but it's just a viewing plane. And this is only if I'm going to like pull that view out of orthographic alignment. Right now I'm in orthographic alignment, but if I'm going to pull that auxiliary view away or to another sheet and have to name it, then I'm going to need a viewing plane that would be drawn parallel to the surface with its arrows pointing of which way I'm viewing. And then I would label that like AA or BB or whatever letter sequence I'm working with. In this case, it'd probably be an AA. It'd be the only one I would have here. And then I would label this view AA. And then when I do that, I can even rotate this thing down into a normal XY orientation and not be kind of like at this weird 30-degree angle on my drawing sheet. So I can do like a removed auxiliary that way. And just as long as I notate it correctly and then I show where it was taken from with a viewing plane line that kind of is like unto our section plane line when they're cutting plane line when we're sectioning. Anyway, heck yes. Makes me think a lot. Let's see. Let's dimension though. That's what we need to do. If I just jump into this viewport, they're all the same scale. So I'm just going to jump in and dimension. My annotate tab's already set to use the dimension layer for my dimensioning. So I'm just going to start breaking down what I need. Overalls, of course. So overalls, where's it going to be? I don't know. I'm going to think about, using the land in between as my my in-between views is my main place to put dimensions. So I know I need an overall width. So let's go ahead and put that in. It's 3 inches like this. I'm going to do it this way, so it just pulls in between the views. Fix some extension lines. Overall height, this is a great place to grab it. It's the only place to grab it, so let's do it. Overall height, maybe I'll just put that in between my views as well. It's this one to this one, should be 2 1/4. That looks good. I'll pull it over. Fix some extensions. Overall depth, could use my auxiliary view. I think I'll put it up on my top view. Will I put it here? Will I put it here? I don't know yet, but what I've kind of been establishing, and you'll see me just like beat this to depth, right? Like I've already kind of established that I'm pulling a dimension off the bottom to the top. Definitely the bottom surface is a better control point than that top little edge. So I'm definitely thinking 2.25 is established kind of my bottom surface as a datum or a nice control surface to pull dimensions from. and not top down. I've also added this one, and that makes me think, am I going left to right or right to left? I don't know yet. I don't know which is my best, but either are kind of decent surfaces, like this the oh sorry, I did have that up, but I wanted to go back to the isometric view of this thing and say that, yeah, I don't think it's wrong to use this as a datum, this surface right here, and pull dimensions, from right side to left and use that one. Or should I use the left side where it appears as a surface there? Should that be where it appears as an edge? Should that be where I pull dimensions from left to right? At this point, it's arguable either one. I don't know which one is better. Maybe it depends on how I'm starting to bundle my dimensions and which one is going to be the controlling surface. But essentially, it's me heading down that lane of establishing datums. I feel like I've already established a primary datum, so that would be starting to establish a secondary datum with this one. I just don't know if it's this surface or this surface, but I've got it. So now I'm kind of heading into tertiary data land. The third one would be kind of associated with the depth here. So um, let's put a dimension on there for the depth from this point to this point is what I think I'm gonna do. 2-inch depth. So my overalls, and then I feel like I have established a tertiary datum, whether it's the back or the front. I'm still debatable too. I don't know. I kind of have either one. They're kind of the same symmetrical shape surface. So if one is better than the other, I don't know at this point. So now let's start thinking of features. I think I'll just go back to my front view and break down the features of this particular object. It's not the same, or this is kind of just the features of this are like cutouts, kind of like or cut or formed or machine shapes, or just how it was 3D printed. But so I'll break it down into kind of surfaces as features. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. So this front surface, let's 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 consider its size. Its location is kind of maybe a little bit more vague. I'm not locating to a coordinate point. I'm not locating to a center line. So its location is just going to be as it is. And I'm thinking of its size though, for sure. Like the size, I've got the overall height of that. I don't really have the overall width of it because that's really the overall part, including some foreshortened surface that I see. So let me just focus on just this one surface here, which is relative to the back as it is the front. So, okay, it has some geometry that I don't have dimensions for, so let me do that. It's definitely got this side. I don't know what it is. This might be the best side for it. I'm pulling off the bottom, so that's good. It's pulling off the bottom control. That's good. I like that. Whether I snapped it over here or snapped it over there, I'm kind of picking there because I'd have to have a really long extension line across my object clear to the other side. So for no other reason than just clarity's sake, I'm moving that to the left. This one here, I'm going to put to the right because I obviously for clarity's sakes, and that's where I would kind of prefer things to be is in between view over here. So I've got a rule breaker over here, but it's a good place for it. These are following better rules. So just adjust my extension lines as I do this so I don't forget later. Okay. So that's kind of this height, and then I've got this height. But what I don't have is maybe a point. Uh, uh, the other direction. So I feel like I've locked in, this height of this, but how about I need to lock in its where it is in the kind of in the X direction for this point, or maybe this point, or both. So should I pull the dimension down here? Should I pull the dimension up here? Wherever I choose to pull is kind of going to establish another control, kind of. I've already got one. I've only got one dimension working from left or right side surface. So I've got to decide like which is my better datum to pull maybe for this location. And I don't know. I think they're both good. And this one here is pulling from left side over. So it's kind of saying that, oh, now 3 might be pulling from this side over and 2 is pulling from this side over. Or is it better to go here and stack that up? I might put them both because I really can't decide which side is my better surface. If I understood the part better, I might be able to make that decision. And if I understood its functionality better. So right now, maybe I'll pull them both. They're not redundant. They're not doubling the information. They're just kind of two different, there's two different dimensions. across that 3-inch span. They're kind of identifying locations of features. Maybe one is better than the other. I'll put them both, but I'm going to think about them a little bit while I do it. I just know that they're helping me lock in kind of like for sure this 1.49 up, and it's either 4.3 over or it's 2.57 over. One of the two. Maybe both, but one of them becomes a reference dimension. Um, it's kind of that weird where they're odd numbers to add up. I know they add up to equal here, but maybe I wouldn't want to just leave someone to have to do the mental math of 3 minus 2.57. It's just a human error that could happen. And so I feel like one of these might become, still, I might want both dimensions, but one of them might become reference and one of them might become based off of the real control, whether that's the left side surface or the right side surface. I just don't know yet. So I'm just going to leave them. And I'm going to say that what I've done is kind of detail this line here. Now I need to detail maybe this one. I do have its height, yes, 2.25, but maybe where is it at over? Maybe I need to know, is it over from the left side or the right side? And here I have that option. I don't know which is better. Like it bundles well here. Do I need them both? Well, that's another arguable point too. Like, do I need to know this one to this one, but in this direction? And then if I do that, I've got to pull this back up to the object edge like that. It's 8.7. That would be right. That would be like a right side dimension over from a right side control. Or is it better to pull this one? They're odd numbers again, right? They add up to be 3. I can see that. But if I just leave one, it's a weird math problem. So it kind of falls into the same situation of, do I put them both right now and then I decide which one is coming from the datum and which one's just reference? Yeah, maybe. And we're not dealing with reference dimensions much, but I'm kind of showing you here. These aren't double dimensions, but it's to me, one is going to have more power than the other. And eventually I'm going to have to determine that because I'm conflicted between his left side control or his right side control. Okay, but that does help me establish that point, and then I think I've already established this point. It's kind of 1.2 up, and it's not over anything off the 3, so kind of falls into the same one here. Oh, I haven't done this one here. Technically, it's different surface though, right? Like this surface is going away from me, so maybe I need to think about this. I've only really thought about this surface. It's perpendicular to my line of sight. I haven't really been evaluating that or this. So maybe is a good time to do that and say, okay, let me work to the next surface in my front view. Well, maybe it's this surface. And I would say, well, what data can I dimension on this surface there? Well, technically it's this. That's one point of it, right? Here it is. And there's one edge, like this is what that surface looks like. It's like a trapezoid. And I've kind of dimensioned this long surface of it, so that's good. I've got that. Plus, I've even got kind of a dimension associated with how far it is over from the right side. So I've kind of done some work on it already. These are doing double duties right now for me. And then this one I don't love to dimension here because it's a foreshortened. Same here. It's not foreshortened here. So this is why I have this view is because where I couldn't dimension this. And I jump up here and I think, well, I'll dimension up top then. Well, it's right here. It's also foreshortened. So where I picked up its true dimension is right there. So this is technically, when I think of this surface, that dimension is going to be right here, whether it's going to be on this side or that side. Well, I mean, like ideally, I would like it to be here. It's like from here to here. 1.14, and I'd pull it off. And this is another rule I might break a little bit. These are going to clash each other. But that's okay. I'm at least just allowing the dimension to be there. This is why I've got multiple viewports, I think is because I'm going to have issues. Although these are not spaced correctly, so I don't know what space I really have to work with, but I definitely got I just like to snap the dimension so I know that it's something that I do value here. I need it. And this is where I picked up the only true length. Like the argument could be why I'd want to rotate this into an XY position is because my dimensioning it might look like this. It might look like it follows an XY pattern way better, like point to point lines. And here I'm actually using an align dimension. It'll let me pull that align dimension. Align dimension is one that you have here. Like when your shape is not like an align dimension might be here. I'm not going to use this one because I don't need it, but that's an align dimension. Sometimes align dimensions become reference dimensions. Sometimes ASME says don't do it. So I'm going to do kind of a hack method of dimensioning over here for us to know that why we established that was for the true length that it holds. And that's one of the true lengths that it holds, 1.14. and it's there and it's there. And so I can choose to dimension probably either side. This is kind of following the rule of staying in between views, but I'm getting a clash, so I might move it to the other side and dimension this one. But what I'm looking at is this surface. So I've got this one, I've got that one. Now this one I could dimension here. That's a true length. No, that's not a true length. That is a true, it's not a true length here, but it is here. It's right there. This one is foreshortened there. This one is correct. So I'm gonna throw that dimension here on the front view. But I'm really thinking about it, because I'm analyzing this surface and all the edges of the trapezoid is what I'm kind of thinking. And then it's clashing with that a little bit. So it's definitely an intermediate dimension of those. And so then I've kind of gone there, there, and here, and now I'm going to go back this way. And where do I pick up that dimension? Well, right here it's foreshortened and going away from me. Here it is also way severely foreshortened, and maybe I pick up the true dimension right here of this surface. Yeah, let me just take a look at my object right there. I'm looking straight down on this, and I'm looking, this surface is going to appear as an edge. Then this thing is not like leaned back and coming towards me. It's straight up and down right here. This surface is kind of straight up and down from bottom to top. So I'm going to be able to see this true length right here in the top view. And that's all the sides of that trapezoid now. So to me, it becomes a top view dimension where it appears as a true length. So I jump back over here, and that's this right here. So then I think of, well, how do I dimension this? Well, I'm kind of pulling either from the back or the front. So as a control, so I'm gonna dimension it to maybe the front, like this. And then I think I'm gonna dimension it off the right side, which would be here. But the thing is, I don't need that because I actually already have that here. So that thing is doing. So this thing has been this has been a necessary dimension to me because I feel like I've used it like 3 times almost. I've wanted to know, or at least twice. I've wanted to know what that distance is, and so I have it right there. So I don't need it again. That's a redundant dimension for sure. So don't do it. I needed this one though. I don't have that one. So there's one of the lengths associated with what that true length is. It's not the align dimension. This is technically the true length, but I've given enough information to figure it out point to point, right? That's the true length of it. But I'm gonna reserve those align dimensions to live on my auxiliary view as kind of this rule breaker. And I'm gonna kind of try to keep point to points as my like an X and Y point to point like a dimension criteria for my top and front view. So I think with that and this, I'm starting to lock in where that point lives right there. And that's just those two surfaces that I see in the front. Now, which kind of influences the back. So I've kind of done the fronts and backs a little bit and because of the symmetrical nature of this from front to back across the center line. So now let me think about the features of this part or other surfaces maybe that I see in the top view. Those are all the surfaces I see in the front view. And even though I put dimensions on other views, it's because I'm thinking of them in relation to where their true lengths appear, right? And the only one I omitted was that one here at the end. And as I was like, well, I'll keep the point to point lineup that I have, and I won't put in the other one yet. Or if I do, I might move it up to here to show it more clear. I don't know. We'll just see. Or maybe I need to move it in between here. This might be a good candidate of saying, well, this is better than to be up in here, and maybe becomes the intermediate dimension because it has some projection, it has some characteristics of the I mean it's also, let's see, that one is the long one. I think this one, yeah. It carries information that I'm sharing between top and front. In some ways, so is this. But I would definitely get a stack up weird up there. So I don't know. I move that up. Maybe we'll decide if I'm going to keep that there or not. Now let me move to some top surfaces. So let's look at these little rectangle ones that are right here. Okay, I see them. I've got that dimension there. maybe I'm going to dimension these. Oh, I could dimension them here. They are true lengths in the auxiliary view. I think I'm going to put most of the data I can and only use my auxiliary view for what it really needed to expose. And I think everything else that could have been caught in the other views, I'm going to dimension them over there. So if I'm thinking about the size of this rectangle, I think I'm going to dimension it. Well, it's arguable. Should I do it here? Every time I do this drawing, I probably dimension it slightly different. It's just because of how my mind thinks and what I'm working with. But should I do that here? And of course, this shouldn't reach across like that. It should be pulled to this edge. Or should I do it on the left side? I'm definitely pulling from the front, so I like that these are all pulling from the front surface. Should I do that there? Should I do that? That's 2 times that dimension so that it applies over here, or I could put that in as a reference dimension. I think in my mind, I'm really going to pull this thing dimensionally over to here, actually. And it's because I'm looking ahead at what the next dimension is, and I'll show you why here. So really, I'm going to get rid of all of this kind of overdrawn extension line work. And obviously, it's closest to here, and it still is pulling from the front. I know I'm breaking the rule of it's not in between views, but it's definitely not breaking away from where I'm controlling the dimension from the front surface. And now I'm going to do the other stack up. I'm going to do from here to the center of that. And then I'm going to do from here to the next one over. So I feel like I'm going to kind of control all the locations of these two little well, let me just stay with the rectangular surfaces. I've got that. And then how long is it? Well, I don't know, but it kind of lines up with that 2.57. So there might be a good argument that this is helpful there, but maybe it's better to pull here because it'll be in between views. It's a shared dimension between these views, 2.1. What is it supposed to be? Maybe I'm wrong. Oh, that one is unique, huh? I think I have it up here, but it's not going to be as clear. Oh, I think that is the clearest. Maybe I'll just undo what I just did. And there it shows back up. Um, and I have the 213 to that point, so I don't need it again. I could clear it up and go up to there with it. It's clear down here though, so I don't feel like I'm going to worry about it's there it is. It's the dimension from kind of left side over or it's from right side over to there. So I kind of got it both ways on the front view. So I feel like I've kind of locked in that point. And so I've kind of locked in its length across the x-axis and y. And so I can move on, I feel like. Yeah, I think it is time to move on to the next surface, which is to me maybe this other surface that's like unto it. So that dimension would be from front surface to this is maybe the preferred way to pull that rather than from the back over. Um, I think it's still helpful to add this other dimension. I just think it may become a reference dimension, but it also takes a relationship with the part beyond what we have to know its functionality, to know which one is going to be, where am I controlling from? I feel like I've got more controls happening from the front side surface and up and to the back. So this is kind of an oddball. I would think that one of these is going to become probably this one's, I don't know. I just have to determine that maybe one's going to become a reference dimension. So, and how I would, and then I may dimension it different once I know that. But right now I'll just leave it. It's not a redundant dimension. It's a separate feature than this. I could have maybe put 2x. Maybe that's not as clear to me what I'm. So this to me is a little more clear than writing 2x on a linear dimension. And maybe it's unnecessary because I've already kind of dimensioned 2 and point 0.8 and I can do the math and figure out that it's the same. But this is a helpful, definitely more of a reference dimension than anything. And so we start to really get in the weeds on these dimensions, but and that's just kind of what you have to do to analyze your part and know if you've got and then but then it also takes a relationship with the part beyond what we have to determine where are the critical holds, where are the dimensions pulling from and to, and then start to analyze these as reference dimensions or critical hold dimensions. Because the other one I need here is maybe if I look at the V surfaces here, and how am I going to size those and locate them maybe? What they have is this is a foreshortened line. It's going down and away from me here. So is each edge. All these edges are foreshortened. I pick up the true length of those though here, and I pick up the true length of the V right there. But it's a hidden line. I don't want to dimension to that. So what can I do with those V's? Well, I can definitely pick up this dimension from front to center of those is that. That one is kind of a no-brainer that I like that dimension. Um, I'm not picking it up from here to here. I'm definitely leaving some people some math. I mean, this gets pretty redundant if I start doing this. I mean, the argument could be made that I could throw that on there and it's a reference dimension. It's a foreshortened dimension though, for one, and that's not the best. That point 0.8 is foreshortened. So let me think of what else is in real. Um, this is a foreshortened surface, at least even across from here to here. It's foreshortened here, but I've already locked in some of its. Yeah. I've got its depth that I can get here. It's the only place I can get the depth of this from maybe my top surface. This is my top edge and the depth. It might be better to pull from the bottom up because I do feel like I'm starting to fall into the category now that I'm establishing like a fourth control point because uh in order to kind of get that point 0.8 dimension that we use to draw the depth of that, the only place it really shows up as true length is in this auxiliary view. But it would allow. I don't have like a bottom to pull from here. My bottom is not. My bottom is this point here, but that's my bottom edge. So somebody could argue that, well, this is better because, it'd be from here to here, and I would want to do this as an aligned dimension. These get hard to do here though because of the quirky nature of how my object is located. So I have to I kind of have to cheat a little bit maybe to put in dimensions on this that are going to be aligned. Um, so I'm thinking about I mean, the easy way to dimension that would be here, and we would say, well, it's point 0.8 from here up to this surface here, which I really don't have anything to snap to. And if I snap to this, I can't pull it the way I'm used to pulling in X and Y relationship. So, you've got to kind of establish maybe some, I don't know. So I use dimension lines sometimes for this because they end up kind of being like like the line weight and type of our extension lines. So I kind of use my dimension layer to sometimes cheat with extension lines that I might need to extend. But I mean, what I need to know is this to there. And yeah, let's see, where am I going to dimension? So I could do that here, from here out. So I'm kind of cheating so that I can use this align dimension. And this is like this is a dimension I need to have. It's a true length there. It was a dimension that was given to me. And it's the only place it appears in that form to a visible line and not a hidden line in the front view would be to a hidden line that I would pull dimension to. So I don't want to do that. So I've kind of done this, and it's kind of a get or done method. But I'm going to pull this back away 0.0625. That's or 0.6 is fine enough. But essentially, our dimension styles were set up to break away a 16th of an inch from the object edge on all the others, and that's following that pattern because I'm kind of using it as a actually using it as an extension line of sorts, even though I have a breakaway of it here. It's a little bit of a hack, I guess. But what I've done now is I've kind of established that top edge as a pull point or the bottom of the V. And I think it's the top edge that would be the better point down, but that might be the fourth datum I've established. So it could be argued that I would want to do something different and pull from maybe the bottom edge, this one right here. I've got my bottom surface as definitely, even if if I'm not, I wouldn't be pulling from the bottom surface there. I'd be pulling from that right side edge of the bottom surface up to there. I'm trying to feel like I think it's a different datum, the edge, than it would be the surface. So I'm just kind of into I'm into I think I'll leave this one because it's most clear to us and where we are, our relationship with dimensions at this point in our drafting careers. Maybe this one makes more sense than me thinking about that, overthinking about that. But and then that's the V. The other place, the only and then the V has some other dimensions except for this part of the V and this part of the V are all foreshortened. So if I'm looking at the V as a trapezoid as well, like have I been able to determine all of its lengths? Well, I've kind of got this one, 2.13 is doing some of the locating and size work, kind of point to point style. the 1.02 and the 2.13 is kind of helping me establish this line of the V surface trapezoid. And I've got this one because it matches. Well, I don't have that one. That's what I'm thinking of. Well, from here to here, maybe it's different from here to here. I think I'm going to establish another. Here, what I'm going to do. I'll show you. It's kind of another cheater method. I'm going to offset this line I'm going to offset this line as kind of an extension line from here to here. This line. I'm going to use this as an extension line though. So I'm going to match the properties of what I did here with this. And this is just for me to kind of maybe pick, and then I'm going to pull it away 0.0625. And then what this allows me to do is pull another kind of hack a line dimension from here over to here. That's a true length. I just want to make sure, there's parallel. Hmm. I don't love this. I would love to rotate it, but I'm going to keep going. I've got two of those there to there. I mean, I can get real hacky here maybe. I think I did this in class anyway, but I could add an angular dimension. This I feel like is a reference dimension. This is 90 degrees. And yeah, I'm just thinking a little bit here of those V's. If I move on from something else, I always get confused and then I'll like miss a dimension. 'Cause I do see some things I want to dimension in here a little bit more. Because I never did get the half-inch dimension in there yet. And I haven't really thought about that surface yet. I haven't thought about that front side surface yet. I slightly did, but well, let me let me leave that. Let me stay with what I've got. I feel like the V is kind of defined, but maybe I'm gonna have it on my back burner of my mind. Did I really truly get the size of the V? I definitely don't have this dimension, but I don't have a place to dimension that. That line is here. That's the true length of it here, but it's hidden. So I'm not going to dimension that hidden line. Maybe I'm going to have to let it fall into place. I mean, because I can't dimension to that hidden line there. It could be a candidate where I would need to cut a section view to expose that length or tell someone how long that is, unless they're able to figure it out from point to point with that 8, and then it's over 1 inch center. And it's going to pass through from that view to that. The V's got me a little Levi's got me thinking a little bit, but let me move on from that and go back to, okay, I've done this surface, I've done this surface. What else in my top view? So I've only really dealt with this surface, the V surfaces, and that surface. And now I've got to think about this surface that I see in my top view. And what are its dimensions? Okay. So that's definitely the why we did the auxiliary view is this surface. So I'm just going to maybe walk over to it, decide if I've got its kind of side lengths figured out. And so I'll just start maybe I'll just start from over here. It's 0.2 over. Yeah, I've got that over here on the top view already. Okay. And then it comes down. Yeah, there's two of these 1.13s, and maybe that's understood by how I pulled this dimension, or do I need to pull another one or say 2 times? I'm just going to leave this one as kind of like a little gray area, but it's 1.13 this way and it's 1.13 this way. And then I go back over 2. So really, I haven't had to add any dimensions yet as I'm analyzing my sides. And I got a 90-degree potentially reference dimension in the future. And then I 0.2 over, and then I go down, and I'm really looking beyond that. And I'm like, well, what's this length here? Well, I've got it. There's a lot going on at this corner here. I want to decide what's true length and what's not. Well, technically, this is true length in the front view down to that point. And I have it in the auxiliary view as well. So I'm going to snap that dimension, I think. I could snap it here, but it would be in a line dimension. And maybe I'm going to restrict those to just my auxiliary view for being my auxiliary view, maybe being my little messier view here with align dimensions. And it's where these true lengths really came to show themselves, right? Like right here is where that is, and it's 0.87. It's a little bit further out than that one. So it's just slightly bigger than 0.8. 0.8 is really the depth of the V in that in this orientation, and then 0.7 goes down to that side, which we have either views to pull up, but I kept my aligned views on my auxiliary view. I'll keep my mess over here. And then I've got a big mess here going on that I'm gonna have to decide if it's gonna push over to the other side of the auxiliary view, or yeah, something might have to happen to clean this up. I don't have, yeah, gotcha. I know. And then I'm gonna, and then I, and then this one I already grabbed. So I already put that dimension on there when I was thinking about this surface. So I've already grabbed that dimension, and then I haven't grabbed this one yet, right? I could snap it on here, and I have that one and that one. They're kind of implied the same across. It's symmetrical. Um, that's something that could go in the note. Part is symmetrical from front to from front side to back side, something like that. That minimizes some of my dimensioning, but it captures that, if I was to do a cutting plane line through from right to left across center, it would be symmetrical part. And that allows some of these dimensions to be inferred over just within general, including in my general note. That's an idea. But I need this dimension here. I feel like the front is going to be the best. So this is another case of where, well, if this is really my control front side surface, then this would maybe be the best dimension to pull, 7.5 and then 0.25. And then if I really wanted to include this, I would include it as I would include it as maybe a reference dimension. But either one could then become the reference dimension, right? Maybe it's more critical in the part's real life that it's 0.75 and then it's 0.5, and they would all be kind of based off this control point, and then it's becoming a chain dimension, but it could be that the part works that way, and that's the way I need to dimension it. Could also be that one of them's I could base it off a center line too. I could draw a center line through here and say it's actually critical that this is 0.25 off of center, and then from there I'm pulling out, and then I might switch all these dimensions to be able to be pulled off a center line. So that's something that might impact this part in the future. Right now, I'm just going to plop them both on there and think that one of them could become a reference dimension. One of them might. Maybe I'm going to forego doing another 3/4. I could say that this is 2 times, or using that node as its same from front to back means that that would be implied. I have some options, but those 2 dimensions, I'm going to leave them there and clean them up in a minute. And then I have to decide if I've really, I think I've kind of addressed every side of this crazy V shape with dimensions. And then that's the last side that I needed to kind of evaluate, right? I think so. And then I need to like start cleaning these up and deciding if I have space to work with. So that's gonna be my next step. Maybe I'll call this step one, part one, and then I've got to come back and do part two, maybe tomorrow, but I don't think I'll be able to get to it today. Um, just based off of how my hours are. So I was going to go over to the one that we've done. Um, and most of this, yeah. Oh, I've done a few different things here. I pulled one more dimension I can see that I'm missing that I kind of like. 0.87. Maybe I've added a few more that I was missing in here, but mostly the same. Mostly I've got the same thing going on without totally directly copying it. I've using the same thought processes. I've almost got to the same ends. The only thing I've added is maybe the overall height here, which is that's not a bad, that is a true length here. Like that overall size, that's the only place I capture it. So this could be, I'll just go back to my drawing that I've been working on here and go back into the viewport of it. The other one that I would like to have, I know it's going to get a real mess here, but it would be from here to there. And I don't have anything there. So maybe that one will almost polar track because it's technically kind of in alignment. It's like right there, 173. I need this to extend over. And then what you'll notice with align dimensions, you can't just pull that over. It's gonna do weird things, which is why I end up doing those I cheat with my lines that kind of become like that. So I kind of cheat with these lines and I say, yeah, it's from here and it goes to there and that's great. And then really I break them away from what they're pulling from. So they end up looking like on my drawing that they're extension lines, even though they're kind of a hidden. Like that looks a little better. But this is an issue. This is why I have three. So I'm going to jump back out and call this part one. I've got to clean this up. Um, I'm not going to be able to get both viewports like minimized enough to like not chop into each other. So what I ended up doing on my other one, and I'll just kind of do that now, is this will be the last thing I do, is I end up like saying, okay, this is too crowded. So all these dimensions I'm going to push over. Maybe what I could do is I might just move them in orthographic alignment. So I might turn on whatever construction layer I use to do that. Hey, that's cool. I actually pulled a couple long. That's good because what I need to do is I'm gonna copy these. I'm gonna leave those ones there because they're the kind of ones I established that view from. So I'm not gonna move them as much as I'm gonna copy these. And I'm gonna copy it with along with maybe its dimensions. So I'm gonna control this one or add this one, sorry, add that one to the group, add this one to the group, and add this one to the group. This is all stuff I'm copying over. Nothing, and so I'm going to say, yep, select those objects, and I'm just going to move this out and away enough that I can get a cleaner viewport look at it, right? And so when I copy that, it allows me to like get rid of these that are interfering with my other viewports, and I can get rid of a lot of them actually. So I can get rid of that. I think that's got everything that I needed. I ended up taking some construction data with me because I had that layer on. I really didn't want that to come with me, so I'll leave those on. I'll turn them off. But I could have like deselected those. I'll just delete them right now because that's redundant construction. If I had an issue, I would come back and fix it here and recopy it over. And I'll leave those two dimensions, but this kind of is going to start cleaning up my viewport a little bit. So let me go ahead and turn off my construction layer again. Okay, I've got that like that. I've got to space these away. Maybe I needed to go further away to get it away from that, but I haven't really spaced these yet. So let me just do a little cleanup and then I'll call it a day. So this one's going to be an intermediate dimension. Maybe I'll just put it at 0.375. Then I've got a few others. Let me go back over here and space these at quarter inch. So that one, and then I would have this one, and then I would have this one, and they would all be 0.25 away. So something like that. Yeah. Um, I could move these to a layer that I turn off because I don't want that to show up. I've got crisscross here. I definitely am going to probably move this one over to this side because just based off its dimensions that are on the same object and they go up to here. Ooh, I'm missing a part that didn't get copied, maybe. Pull that off. I should have a little line there that didn't get copied over right there. Right there. I'm actually missing it. Might be the way I drew it. So I think I copied everything right. It's just that this is maybe if I jump over here and extend. Good candidate for extend is that. And really it's this one that I need to really worry about, but I'm addressing both. What I do to one, I'm going to definitely make sure I do to the other because they are copies of each other. And this is the one that I constructed from. This dimension is interfering. I can see that. Get rid of it. This might reach out. So, moral of this story is I might need to move that a little further over. So how would I do that? Well, let me just see my construction layer again. This is really the fine tuning of my drawing, right? So these I would love to pull maybe through just a little further. I mean, I wish I should have just had these a little bit longer originally. And then when I moved that, so now I'm going to do this move again, but I'm just going to make sure I deselect anything I don't want. So I'm moving all that. Sorry, I didn't select the move first. Should be a different blue like this. Moving all that, just hold down shift and select what I didn't want to move. That's some of this stuff here. Shift, select, maybe. I'm not sure why that one's going to come with me and it won't let it select. I should be able to unselect that. Even further away. How about that? I'm gonna move this back. I wasn't sure why I was not able to select it there, but it should have been the piece that lived there underneath. Yeah. I think I've lost some of my dimensioning here. Like I feel like this has lost its point where it knew that. And then I've got to adjust a few more spacings there. I'm going to turn off this construction layer again now. And what I've done is I'm going to have to view that in there. Let me just show you how I've cleaned this up and see if I've done it good enough. This is the last thing I want to do. I'm not going to finish it completely, but 0.375. Then I'm going to do my spacing here. Get off that dimension. 0.25 spacing. Okay, I've got some interference, so clean that up. That's an easy way to clean up the interference. Just get them into their own little space like that. Now, let me take a look at my viewport. I know I haven't adjusted the top and stuff, and technically I don't need this just to even live here at all. Let me go back in and just look how I'm cleaning up my viewport. Okay, cool. So this is not where that's looking. I need to unlock that and look at the new one that has dimensions like this. Make sure I'm going to put it at a 1 by 1 or 1 to 1. Kind of try to align it in the. I'm gonna adjust the viewport in a minute to not cut off my dimensions. But really, what's most important is that I click outside of it for a minute. Maybe click into it for a minute. Sorry, and lock it down real quick so it's at 1 to 1, and then move it. Right? Yeah, move. I'm gonna make sure I'm on the paper, move my viewport, move it by this particular point up to this line. That's in orthographic alignment with that. It's not interfering. What I need to do is then jump out here and pull these viewports out so I'm not chopping off dimensions or any of its data. Cool. And then let's do this one here. I'm gonna escape that one and I need to move this one, right? Like I've kind of already established those dimensions. Maybe it needs to go a little lower to catch that. I still think I'll be okay with my notes. And then this has got to go up. I haven't spaced those, so I'm not worried. But it's probably going to go like I'm going to come in here to there, and it's probably not going to be. It's probably going to be like this, and I might catch a little bit of that. So what I do is I'm going to go back out to. I'm going to go back in here. I don't want to show any of this partial one, and so maybe I'm going to. Maybe I'm just going to put what catches my dimension, or what my viewport is catching, these parts here. Anything that's kind of reaching out that way. And I'm just going to push it to, oh, I'm going to make a new layer for it, I think. I'm going to make a new layer of something. Those are all my layers on. Let's turn those off. I'm definitely going to make a new layer, potentially. Construction layer 4. Maybe I'll just put something that's like mine says viewport interference, right? So I have this like interference. Maybe I'll change this color to something that catches my eye that I haven't used. Maybe just this color here, some magenta. I don't even have any other magenta layers that I'm using on this particular drawing. So that's kind of why I used it. Because what I want is potentially this stuff, this stuff, this stuff is just in my viewport area. And I used it for more construction purposes than I did anything. So I'm just going to move it to that construction viewport interference layer. Yep, close it. It's turned off. Now when I jump back out, I have the data there, but it's not interfering with my viewport at all. And it's not like I've lost it, but that's it. I'm going to call this good. I still have a part 2. What I need to do is just finish my dimensioning, spacing, and then fill out my title block, fill out my revision history block, and just check and PDF this thing and change line type scales. And I'm getting close to being all these dimensions are captured that I wanted. So this is about done. If my part 2 is be pretty short, so I'm going to stop it there.